Hello, I am here today with my friend Malik Fernando from Resplendent Ceylon. Thank you for meeting with us today.
Delighted to be here with you, Martha.
Thank you. So, Malik, let's start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about yourself and also about your company.
I'm actually a tea grower, which is probably the most unusual thing you've heard on your show on this um, program, which is that the world's best tea, black tea, comes from Sri Lanka, which used to be known as Ceylon. So I come from a family of tea growers. My father, Merrill, um, uh, created this brand of tea called Dilmah, which is fairly well known. It's sold in so many countries around the world. It's sold, it's served on both Emirates, on all classes, Qatar, top hotels. And my father named the brand Dilmah after my brother Dilhan and myself Malik, hence Dilmah. And whilst I walked through the tea fields one day, I suddenly realized that, gosh, there are these crumbling, historic colonial tea planters' bungalows that should be restored, and as these boutique lodges. And that's really what I did about 15 years ago. So those tea planters' bungalows, the original historic bungalows, is really was the genesis of Dilmah Tea's leisure touristic foray into what we call Resplendent Ceylon. And I was the first Relais Chateau resort in Sri Lanka. They came to us and said, you're exactly the kind of product we want. Would you like to join? I call myself an accidental hotelier because it came from a tea side of the business. And then from tea trails, Ceylon tea trails, which is perched up at 2,000 meters in these emerald green tea fields, we made such an impression on guests who just loved our total non-hotel kind of approach, like you're living in a tea planter's house in the 1920s. That I thought, let's expand and build a few more hotels. So that's kind of really, in a nutshell, the origin of my this particular phase of my life and Resplendent Ceylon.
That is so interesting and such a great story. Like, it's not, oh, I just decided I wanted to get into the hotel business. It's, I love tea. And so this is how this happened. That's really, really cool. And how historic and romantic to be staying at one of your properties. I love it. So, like, tell me, if it's my first trip to Sri Lanka, what are some things that I absolutely have to do and just things that should not be missed?
Okay, well, Sri Lanka, first of all, for those viewers who are not exactly sure where it is, it's just off the southern tip of India. It's 20 kilometers off the southern tip. It is an island about the size of West Virginia. The population is about 20 million. It's fairly heavily populated, but mainly in the cities. It's just 45 minutes flying time from the Maldives. So a lot of our clients, because Maldives has been marketed and promoted over the years, particularly at the high end, so it's got a fairly high awareness. Sri Lanka is really a hidden gem. It really doesn't have that level of awareness, which is now starting to change. 10% of our clients at our circuit of Relais Chateau lodges are from the US, and many of them club a visit to Sri Lanka with the Maldives. So Sri Lanka is actually one of the most beautiful, fascinating countries in the world. Why I say that is that it's a continent in a very small area. A lot of the old, Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor movies, Indiana Jones movies. There was a famous film called The Bridge on the River Kwai. They were all filmed here in Sri Lanka, as it was then known, Ceylon, because it offers so many landscapes. So you'd have to actually find a continent to actually get the amount of variety that we have here. From the tea fields at 2,000 meters to our ruined cities with beautiful temples like Angkor Wat, to amazing beaches we have on the East Coast, the best game safaris outside Africa, highest density of leopard in the world, wild elephant. We've got so many national parks. And then the beaches on the South Coast, a lot of history, 8 World Heritage Sites. So actually, what is beautiful about this country is that the average length of stay is 12 nights, which is longer than most other countries, which are more one-dimensional. So if you go to the Maldives, you'll flop on the beach and you'd be on that island for a few days. But here you'd move between the tea country to the ruined cities, to the surf spots, to the safari country in the southeast and the northwest. and it makes for a very beautiful twin center holiday. If any of your clients coming all this way to go to the Maldives, we're only 45 minutes away. So we've got a partnership with Soneva Fushi, for example, because their guests who go to that beautiful island would love Ceylon tea trails. It's such a contrast. Or Wild Coast Tented Lodge, which is our Relais Chateau Safari Lodge. So really, those who come here go to 3 or 4 locations. We've got 3 resorts right now in the tea country, the Safari Lodge, and near this World Heritage city called Gaul, which is a massive Portuguese fortress from the 1500s, which is the largest living fortress in Asia. So there's a lot of history, culture. Buddhism is the main religion. I'm a Catholic, so Christianity also is quite strong here. Beautiful weather. It's a year-round destination. Nature very high in terms of biodiversity, and so it really has been off the tourism map because we did have a conflict that ended about 15 years ago now, and since then tourism has been booming. And the New York Times has regularly placed Sri Lanka as the place to visit. In fact, the Condé Nast Traveler in their country rankings with their Reader's Choice, #1 country to visit last year in the 2020 Reader's Choice was Italy, and #2 was Sri Lanka. So we're up there. The travel writers know us. The people who've been here rave about the country, but many aren't really aware of, what really it offers. So, I'd be happy to answer any specific questions, but it really is an amazing holiday, unlike anything you'd normally experience.
Well, and it's amazing how much it has to offer considering the size of the country. My gosh, it sounds, 12 days and having something different throughout your experience in a country that size. That's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you travel 20, 30 kilometers, you're in a different, environment, different scenery. That's why a lot of the Hollywood movies that were shot here back then, they substituted for other Asian locations or even Scotland or Africa, because we had all those film set type environments. And it's easy to get around. The people are very warm and friendly. As I said, it's a small country. It's the size of West Virginia, so that's 250 miles north to south and about 140 east to west. There's big mountainous terrain in the middle, and it's green. I call it 50 shades of green. It's amazing because it's such a verdant country, and there's so much you can do.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So, what's your personal favorite thing to do in Sri Lanka?
Okay, I love the tea country. I'm biased because I'm a tea grower, and I love tea. But the tea country is amazing. It's so accessible. It's just 25 minutes by float plane that lands on the lake directly in front of the tea trails, bungalows, and these mountains of tea. Um, Trekking, scenic walks, hiking. That's very big because we've got so many areas of really stunning natural beauty. Um, Safari, leopard spotting. Um, you know, there isn't one single thing, but if you ask me for one, it would be probably just traversing our landscapes on foot. Slow travel through really beautiful scenery, and the climate is comfortable, particularly in the mountainous areas where you're elevated, so is quite cool. The plains can be a bit warm, but we've got great surfing. And really it's people. When guests leave our resort, quite often they write back and they said, the most memorable impression was how authentic and genuine are people. They're not spoiled. It's not plastic serving. It really is caring. Even the poorest of persons you meet on the street will flash a warm smile. We're very, very welcoming people. That's why we've been colonized for the last 500 years. Maybe we're overly welcoming.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, what's something that there's a lot of things that have surprised me in our conversation, but what's another thing that might surprise our listeners about Sri Lanka?
See, it's nothing like the region, if I might say. It's, English is widely spoken. It's very easy to get around. It's actually a very comfortable stay, even for expatriates. We have a high share of people who come on holiday and then they actually settle down and move here. So there's a huge villa culture where expatriates, tourists would buy a piece of land, build a villa. So because of the fact that we were in the midst of a conflict that ended, as I said, about 15 years ago, we were spared, that mass tourism where, thousands of hotels, 400 room, 500 room hotels, that whole concrete ribbon development we were spared. So you see, particularly in the coastal areas, lots of beautiful 3, 4, 5 room villas, people's homes that they give out. So it's actually a very boutique kind of experience, which I think would surprise people. So it's great for family travel, multi-generational travel. You've got lots of these boutique lodges, disproportionate to the region, um, because we've got a huge amount of tourism attractions, and we didn't have that mass development that many countries in the region have. So it's unspoilt, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
People say it's like
Well,
Bali 20 years ago, for example,
uh-huh,
which is quite savage, and I hope it remains like Bali 20 years ago. We don't want to develop too fast. I believe that small is beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you're second on the list with Condé Nast last year, I think we should probably get there sooner rather than later because
Yeah, yeah,
the secret is out.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Malik, thank you so much for your time today. I hope that someday soon we can enjoy a cup of tea together, preferably in Sri Lanka. And yeah, I look forward to working with you.
Would be delighted and happy to answer any questions that you might have thereafter. But thank you so much for having me on, Martha. And our next visit is in Sri Lanka. I'll hold you to that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Malik.